Welcome to Starfleet Universe On Call. I am Paul Franz, owner of Franz Games. I'm an SFU Online, FedCom Online, and Starfleet Warlord. Just a reminder how to join us for a talkcast every Thursday night starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can either call on the phone, just dial 605-562-0444. Just follow the directions. The call ID is 17702. Or you can participate on the web. Just go to the Talks website at www.talkshoot.com. and search for call ID 17702 or SFU On Call or Starfleet Universe On Call, and you should find us there. But of course, if you want the best experience online, just go to twitch.tv. Yes, twitch.tv/SFU On Call, and you will find us there. You'll see the wonderful video that I broadcast at that time. You'll also be able to join the wonderful chat room full of interesting characters. Sometimes they talk about what the topic is, sometimes they don't. It's always a mix. So, anyway, if you need to contact me for any reason, my email address is sfuoncall@gmail.com. It's sfuoncall@gmail.com. Also, you want to follow me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week. You can find my SFU On Call count there. SFUONCALL. And of course, my personal account is Paul Franz, PAULFRANZ. There's no T in that. And Franz Games is my business account, which is FRANZGAMES. Again, no T in that. And of course, I love the Talkcast. Gets to a podcast available on iTunes and various other feeds around the net. Some quick news from ADB. There's been a COVID shutdown. Yeah, the whole office got COVID. So all orders will be delayed on shipping until August 7th. So if you're waiting for something to be shipped from ADB, you have to wait a little bit. Sorry, but it's hard to work when you're sick and COVID, nothing to be sneezed at. And also found on the online store this week, I found the R4T counter sheet. Yes, it's only $2. Just $2. It says 60 counters. These counters are for the new product, showcasing the new Tholian ships, from the R4T module, and including police destroyers and its variants, the police war destroyer, and its variants, and numerous Neo-Tholian designs, including Neo-Tholian X ships and more. So, and also a reminder that I know this is not A to B, but Steve Jackson games, for those of you who play Steve Jackson games or even want to buy things. I'm not sure if any of ADB's products are on sale on their virtual Gen Con sale that goes until August 10th. Just go to the Warehouse 23 and go find out. Obviously, there's quite a few of, physical games that they sell, which also will be on sale during this virtual Gen Con sales event. Moving onward and forward to the SFB Online tournament, the Sapphire Star 14 tournament. The semifinals have not been completed. We're still waiting for Jack Taylor flying the GBS, the Great Black Shark, against Stephen McKinn, who's flying the Win Auxiliary Battlecruiser. They've completed 7 turns. Both ships have 3 shields down, so half their shields are absolutely gone, and about 15 internals each. And both ships are pretty low on drones, and so it's from the post. It's a very close game, so it's up for grabs to either one. And if you will be listening to this before Friday night, they said it's going to get together 7 p.m. I'm assuming that's Eastern time. I didn't see them mark whether the time zone. I'm assuming it's Eastern time because I know Stephen McKinn is on the Eastern time zone, and I think that's probably best to assume that Jack's also. I don't remember, to be honest, what time zone he lives in. But anyway, so 7 o'clock, Friday night, August 4th. So if you listen to my podcast before then please, and you want to go see this great game, go log into SFU Online and watch the game. Just a reminder, those who don't have an account, you can create an account. You can register your email address with me, and you can register a call sign with me to watch the game for free. You just can't play anything but the Federation or the Klingons, because it's in quote demo mode, and that's how you do it these days. I changed it around. Moving onward and forward when it comes to the library, not much happening there. I've been busy with other things. Hopefully I will get around to working on updating the libraries, because I know Frank was asking about that, and I really need to finish that up. So with that is the news for this week. Welcome to Starfleet Universe On Call. I am Paul Franz, owner of Franz Games, and you're not. Well, that's weird. Are you hearing an echo?
Not now.
Not now? Did you hear me? Echo?
Oh, there was a little echo there.
Okay. That's weird. Okay. I don't know what. Is my microphone picking that up?
Could it be a feedback?
I don't know.
Could it be a feedback thing?
Well, it could be, because I got my phone. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to do this even further. Okay, how about now? Okay.
Sounded good.
Yep.
No echo.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Let me bring up the live feed. We're here. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Only can do one thing at a time. That sucks. Okay. I was hoping beyond all hope to watch the MLS game, the Philadelphia Union versus DC Union at the same time I'm doing this podcast, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It's either I can watch the game, or I can make sure that I can monitor the feed. I don't have any of so I'm gonna have to monitor the feed and just maybe I don't know what I can do about the game at the moment. Probably just have to see how the result is at the end, because they're past the 60-minute mark. This is the last time I checked. But anyway, this is not why the podcast is not for discussing MLS soccer. I know a lot of people don't like MLS soccer, but I do. So you can live just like I like MLB baseball, so you guys will live. Orioles are still in first place on the AL East, and so I'm happy they beat the Toronto Blue Jays 3 out of 4 this past series, and also the Jack Flaherty, which they just acquired as part of the trade deadline. They got to see him today, and he did really, really good. And then he had the last inning. He was kind of rough. It was kind of weird. I'm not sure whether he was overdoing it, he was being overpowering, which was great. But if he can't sustain it, it's like I don't want him to do that. If he can't sustain it, and I know Fuji, that's what he actually allows people to do. He's actually call him by his abbreviated name of Fuji, which is actually Fujinami. Um, he needs help. In the head. At least that's what it seems like to me. It seems like he's overly stressed. Not in a reliever way, where you're psyched and you love the thrill of being a reliever and being in that tough situation, but in the kind of it's over the top where he hit 2 batters in a row. So I was like, to say the very least, I think there is an issue. Houston, we have a problem. Because I saw in the first game, was it the first game? I forget, it was either the first game or second game that they actually was pitching. And he had a rough outing to start with. But after he got past like the third or fourth batter, he actually really, you could tell he was getting into his groove. And the problem is, then Brendan Hyde pulled him. I was like, no, this is not the time to pull him. He's just getting to his groove. He's got it. But nope. He got him pulled. So hopefully, those jitters and so forth can be worked out. But anyway, getting back to actually the topic for tonight, which is Star for the Universe on Call. So it's the Star for the Universe. And of course we wish Steve Petrick and Steve Cole and Jean Bordeaux or Bordeaux. I forget Al's last name. I want to say Sexton Bordeaux, but I don't think. I think she actually took his last name as tradition.
Jean.
What's that?
Jean. Just Jean.
But anyway, wish them all the best in recovering from COVID. So, as I mentioned in the news portion, which is that all shipments are delayed on going out the door until at the very least August 7th. And, A to B said August 7th. I'm saying very least August 7th. Just in case something happens where, because you never know how COVID actually, how things will go, whether you'll be hit hard and you'll be down and out for like weeks, like a long COVID kind of thing, or it's just going to hit you strong the first couple of days and then you recover and you feel like you don't have COVID, but you're still viral, and of course, what's the wonderful thing about COVID? The wonderful thing about COVID is that after you got COVID, you can get it again. Yay!
Yeah.
It's not like one of those things that you got COVID, fine, it's done with. You're good for at least for a while. You've got built up your immunity system. You're good to go for a bit. No, that's not the way it works, unfortunately. Now, my daughter, she's a little more cautious about COVID, and whenever she's in large crowds or in small spaces, inside, she wears a mask, and that's her. And I'm in no way, shape, or form maligning that. She's just being cautious. She hasn't got COVID yet, and she's doing her best not to. So, and I can understand it. I don't think I've had COVID. I might have. I don't know. It's possible I had it and I was very light. But, I did get the original shot and the booster, and I haven't got anything since now. So, I know to really.
Sure, I just had it a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Almost. Oh, yeah.
My little ass, hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That whole, wouldn't even have known that I had COVID, except that it was like putting me into the irregular heartbeat, and that's what actually got me into the emergency room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent like a few days in the hospital for it. But yeah,
Yeah, I got
and then like third time.
hmm COVID,
Yeah.
the virus that keeps on giving. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Under-
Somebody's gift to the world, but there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a talk about how the whole thing started because
Let's not talk about who infected whom.
right,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
whether it was
This is supposed to be a
created in a
joyous
lab
occasion
or
of
it was
talking about
natural,
SFU.
or, you know,
Uh-huh.
that let's not go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That,
supposed to be a joyous occasion. Let's speak of SFB instead.
right, exactly. Let's not go down those sometimes political waters because uh, too many things are political these days, and it's awful. Uh,
Yeah, even worse, sometimes politics gets that way.
hmm Agreed. It's you know the crazy thing about politics is at one point, many years ago, we actually could have a civil discord about our political views. These days, not so much. Seems like you got the either you're for us or against us, and that's it. It's like wait a minute, so we can't talk about our
But
views and just agree that okay we have different views and you know try to understand one another. You know, it is
why
what
would
it
we
is.
want to do that? Have you not studied human history?
Uh, don't okay.
we
Okay. I was reading an article that is definitely not.
digress.
Yeah, well, it's about digression. There's a huge digression. Oh, and just a reminder for those who have not listened. Well, you probably if you're listening to this, you probably listen to the news portion if you're not live. And that is that Steve Jackson Games is having a virtual Gen Con um, event. I.e., they have a sale going on their Warehouse 23 store. So obviously, stop by there. You can pick up discounted games. I have not checked it out personally. I just saw the posting. No, it's not posting. I think it was email is what it was. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it was an email because I'm on their email list for, of course, Warehouse 23. Big surprise! I bought quite a few items from there, so surprise! They got my email address. But they're saying like, okay, for example, just real quick, um, there's a 15% off select Car Wars titles. There was also a 15% off select Munchkin titles, and also 50% off on dice and dice games. Looking for there's things like gelatinous and zombie dice. They're on sale for 15% off. So feel free to stop by there for some discounts on some awesome games that they have there at Warehouse 23. As I mentioned in the news portion, I don't think any of the ADB products, electronic products, are on sale. I think it's, from the sounds of it, it's mostly the physical products. And that is fine for me. I don't want to spend too much money on products. Good Lord knows. I just went through a year ago a whole just year to 2 years ago. I was just purging a lot of stuff so I don't have nearly as much stuff as I used to have. And some of that was games. Some of them Doug knows because I gave them to him. So, in any case, let's get to SFU On Call and the topic for this evening, which the topic for the evening is going to start off with. That is the tournament that's going to be run at Gamers of Summer, which is going to be. Give me the dates, Doug. I know it's Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend. The Oh, Labor Day weekend. That is the first weekend in September, which
Okay.
is coming up on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th
Okay. Just a
of
reminder.
September.
Yeah. Well, I've
Saturday is the 2nd. Yeah.
okay. I just want people to know that that what dates that is, and the plan is. Now this is the one thing I'm still haven't worked out in my own head at the moment. I know how the format I want to run it at. And my guess is it's probably going to be an SFB event just because of most of the people who play tournament are SFBers. Um, so you know, if I try to run a FedCom event, a FedCom tournament, I don't think there's going to be nearly as many people, if hardly any people at all. You know, it's not just sad to say. FedCom, at least for the people I know and I've played with, FedCom is a secondary game. Yes, we like to play it, but at the same time, also that's not our main focus because we grew up playing SFB. We like to play SFB. We are entrenched in tournament Starfleet battles, which is for any of you who don't know when it comes to tournaments, Starfleet battles is you still have most of the rules for SFB. Now, the one thing when it comes to tournaments and tournament rules, you don't get there's no EW. Well, okay, let me back up on that for a moment. There actually is EW, but there's no. It's very limited in scope. There's only two places where EW is involved whatsoever. Number one, wild weasels. You can still generate the ECM from wild weasels. That's still fine. The other one is cloaking. You can still use the EW. Well, cloaking is a big EW thing anyway. So that is still in play in the tournament. It's just that you can't allocate for ECCM. You can't do erratic maneuvers. You can't do those kind of things in the tournament. Obviously, all the weapons are available. When it comes to the Klingon, it gets a special UIM that does not break down, which I think sucks, but that is just one of those things. I personally would like to either have it so that the UIM breaks down or it has a limited number of firings, something along the lines of Lyran, because the Lyran currently has a UIM, but you can use it one time. The idea being that when you fly the Lyran, you have one opportunity to use the UIM, which will help you in that case. And obviously, one thing to remember is you actually have it. So remember. But the Klingon has a UIM which never dies, and I think it actually should be limited. But that's me. Also,
it can be hit and run.
Yes. Well, that also takes the more. I mean, Andromeda might have a chance to actually do it. Now, let's mention that real quick. The question is in my mind, how many people actually guard the UIM? If I was the Klingon, I probably would always, but the question is, do people think about it? Because
the real question is, do people think about using guards? But
that's exactly what
guard stuff. That's
yep.
kind of a top priority.
Mm-hmm. Oh, agreed.
It's a critical system for them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, agreed. And that was one thing actually I was going to bring up, and you did bring it up, which is the whole idea of how many people remember to place their guards. I actually did that for the what? I can't say the first time. It's like one of the few times when I actually played against Stephen McCann. I actually placed guards. which was different.
You were running an Andro.
I know.
Is that?
I know. I know. I probably shouldn't have done that just because I'm an Android. And if he's actually able to do that, I'm in bigger trouble. Though, come on, Doug. Honestly, there is a
One of the things
there is the
it
possibility.
was a habit for me
Mhm.
when I played SFU tournaments decades ago, but it's really not that huge of a necessity necessarily. It's more of a surprise thing. If you're at a point where each player has the opportunity to do hit and run raids against each other, something is very wrong at that point. And the person being hit and run against is probably at a disadvantage. Not necessarily, but
Yeah, not necessarily because
it just and I said not necessarily, but on the other hand, it's something that doesn't always come up a lot that I saw in tournament play, because a lot of times when you've got that mutual shields down and you've done a lot of damage, you're either turning away really quickly or there may be a concession at that point. You never know.
Oh, agreed. And that's your number one thing is that you want to get your shield away from him at ASAP. And most probably at that point, you have not actually allocated any energy towards transporters, and because most of the time that you use the transporters for hit and run raids, you've done it out of battery. And if you both have down shields, most probably you've already used your battery for reinforcement, so that you have one less internals. You're not going to say, okay, well, give me one more internal and I'm going to do a hit and run raid on you, because, as you pointed out, it's most likely that the next impulse, your opponent will turn away from you. So that his now down shield is away and therefore out of arc, and so that you're basically screwed. So you can't do a hit and run raid at that point. But any case, so that's one of the systems that still uses hit and run raids. You cannot. There's a lot of systems you can't use. For example, another one of the systems that you cannot use is boarding parties. You can't just do a boarding party and try to take over the ship. If you want to, you can use hit and run parties, hit and run raids to eliminate all of the control spaces, so he can be uncontrolled. You want to? Feel free. That's Lord knows, like the Orion, and I forget how many the Wax has, but there's some ships that really have a limited number of control spaces, including the Android. Android has like 4, which is like 2 bridges, an Emer, and an Oxcon. So it has 4 control spaces. And I think that's around the same as the Orion. But anyhow, and of course, when it comes to changes to rules or additional limitations put on those rules, for the like the Andromeda. The Andromeda can only displace 6 hexes instead of its normal 12. Why that's the case, I personally don't understand. But of course, I wasn't there at the beginning. Meaning when they originally created the rules, I don't know why they limited to 6 hexes. My guess, because the thing is, because here's the thing, you're flying in a fishbowl, so you might want to go 12, but at the same time, the farther away you are, the sooner you're gonna be closer together. It's one of those weird paradoxes when you're fighting in the fishbowl. But anyhow, it is what it is. I don't.
Well, 12. That distance is actually kind of critical because it puts you way out of range of return shots.
And this is a bad thing.
I mean, that's not a bad thing for the andro, but even in the fishbowl, if you just whack somebody's, their torps, and they've got 8 impulses to use them, and then suddenly you're 12 hexes away, that's tremendous
Mm-hmm.
versus 6. I mean, could be, 6 of one, half dozen of the other at that point, but it puts you way out of phaser range and out of the effective range of most weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it gives you a free, complete getaway.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why they limited it to 6.
Yeah.
The other player might have a chance of catching up to you.
Right.
That would be my guess off the top of my head.
Yeah. Oh, understood. And though still with 6,
it also keeps you from being that far away at the beginning of the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's a fishbowl, it still takes time to get close to somebody, And if you happen to be in one corner and that, you were corner dodging and then you're more than, 9-10 hexes away, it can be hard to catch up to you because you got a lot of space you can use to run away while you're resetting all your andro stuff. So there you go. But on the other hand, if we're going to talk tournament, aside from like maybe rehashing rules, what format are you looking at? Do you want to run it as a patrol tournament, or do you want to run it as a straight up bracket tournament? Like
bracket tournament
with
it's gonna be a Swiss bracket.
Second chance bracket.
Yeah, exactly. So that if you lose the first round, you still aren't done. The reason why I want to do it that way is simple. Patrol, we do not have time to play patrol. In my mind, we don't. If I don't see, the thing is, one thing about patrol, you need over a full day of play, possibly 2 days of play, to get enough games in. That's number one. Number two, you need enough people. And depending upon how many people show up, let's say we get 8, which I think would be a perfect number of people to be part of the tournament. Heck, if we get 7 and me, and people are willing to say, okay, I can still be the judge, I'd be happy to do that. I think Swiss gives people at a minimum of two games where they're in the tournament, and if they want to play, they want to continue to play, feel free. After you get knocked out, you can play number of games against anyone who also got knocked out. But I feel like Swiss bracket, we have the second chance bracket. I feel like that's going to be the best way to go.
Here's a thought. If we have like the grand tournament set up for the 2-day tournament, you could also have like a Saturday patrol, Sunday patrol thing too. Where it's just whoever wins the most between hours X, they continue on. They get to win that day's tournament. Whereas the other one could be a 2-day tournament. And we could also have other stuff set up too. I mean, somebody brings minis, we could do like a nice big minis battle on the side for non-tournament play.
Understood.
It's a thought.
No, agreed. It definitely a thought. And I agree that I would love to have it so that somebody with a lot of miniatures would come and have it so that people can play using miniatures, which is always a great thing. I know that at Origins we had at least one person who brought like their whole collection. So, and just for those individuals who aren't currently in the Twitch chat room, Jeff's there. Jeff, our truck driver, is there in COVID quarantine because of the whole issue. For those who doesn't know that Steve Cole and Steve Petrick, they got COVID. Problem: StratCon was held in Amarillo, and Steve Cole interacted with said people. And given that he interacted with said people, it's a good possibility that those people possibly also got COVID. Because it's one of those wonderful things that just loves to be shared around. So just for those, and also I see that Jeff mentioned that his voice definitely was not up to join the call tonight, and I'm sure. Okay, and just an update on that. Jeff actually also posted that of the 20 attendees, there were 20 people who actually attended StratCon. 7 came down with positive at this point, and that's at this point. It's possible they might turn positive later. So, yikes. Wow. Chris Newsy is on the chat room, and he's just mentioning that he has been in the chat room for the past 2 weeks because for 2 weeks ago he fell asleep, and last week his laptop died, which always, in my mind, always sucks. The big wanger, just because of you have everything backed up on your laptop. Getting a new laptop, getting all set up all over again, it's just a big pain in the butt. But actually, that brings me to. I want to mention this really quick as a side note. I was just reading an article about this. It's in Wired. It's just basically the whole issue that we had with software these days. Software these days is so reliant on the web. It's all cloud based. So that if you lose the cloud aspect, even if it's a software that you run locally, if you lose the cloud aspect of it, the program or whatever app that you're using isn't designed to work without the cloud existing. So if that company ever goes out of business, you no longer have a working app. So,
Yep.
Now.
And that just blows.
Right.
This is actually something that's, it's not just the cloud aspect. This came around before that. Just decades ago, I picked up software for that I used for like set design when I was doing independent film stuff, and it wasn't free software, but you had to go to the company's website to activate it with your code, and if you didn't have the code, you couldn't reinstall it. So if you wiped your computer and you went to reinstall everything, and this happened with me once, you couldn't use that program anymore because the company went out of business.
Right, and therefore you couldn't activate it because their activation servers were no longer in existence.
Yeah, so I have some software, like more than just that's in storage, I think, probably, that it's that's an issue. And it's like, if I buy something, I feel like I shouldn't have to deal with that. Piracy issues aside, and I understand why they did it in the first place, that's still kind of a wrong thing to do. It's kind of like, if you buy a frickin' hammer and, Stanley goes out of business, and suddenly your hammer is not in your shed anymore. Somebody comes by and takes it away because
No,
yeah, it's
no,
just ridiculous.
no. The
That's just
hammer's
my
there.
opinion.
You just no longer have the head of the hammer.
Yeah, or something. It's like you just can't use it.
Yeah, it's
Some guy
unusable.
shows up and zaps you with a taser. You can't use that hammer anymore. Stanley's out of business. Yeah,
Yeah.
come
Oh yeah.
on, it's
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
And part of this needs
That's where I think some good ethical hacking can come in and
Oh,
say, yeah, you can actually use the CD that you own that has the software that you bought on it.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But
And
that's just my opinion.
oh, agreed. And I think when it comes to legislation, there should be some legislation put forward which basically says that okay, if a product is no longer supported, that the business no longer exists, and you can't, there is no known copyright owner of the software. It should be completely
Hopefully that was
legal
pointless.
to hack.
That would be pointless because then there's nobody to come prosecute for it. No, it would be a pointless bit of litigation or of legislation, I should say. There's nobody to prosecute for you hacking the thing. Nobody's going to come forward and say, "Oh, they harmed me," because
Well,
you're not harming anybody.
but in the case of
So to
a
speak.
software that's de-supported, it's no longer supported by the manufacturer. The manufacturer still exists, but they say, no. You need to. This is no longer supported. You have to upgrade to our new sucky product.
What do you think? What do you think Microsoft is trying to do with their 360? You won't own anything anymore. You're just renting this from us for a year. I still use my last copy of Word that basically was before they started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a suite, and I'm happy because of that. I'm glad I bought that before Microsoft came along and said, well, for the next series of neat stuff, here's our new format of doing things. And it's like, you know what? Screw you guys. If I need something fancy and new, I'll just go to Open Office. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, yep. Chris mentioning LibreOffice, which is better right now when it comes to the open source community. It's a better supported software. And yes, Chris, I agree on right to repair, being the ability to repair your devices. And sometimes Apple is not exactly helpful in that regard. Well, Apple is just one example. Samsung, there's multiple manufacturers who create hardware products that are not exactly easy to repair and not designed to be repaired outside of people. Now, of course, there are certain things like, these little things. My AirPods. I'm sorry. How to repair something this small? You can't. It's got this tiny battery. It's got a little speaker here, a little microphone there, and of course inside here somewhere is a Bluetooth radio in this little thing. So it's one of those things that it's throwaway. It's completely throwaway. You can't repair it, and I would never expect it to be repaired just because of the size of the device. And don't get me started on what I feel like is going to be the new manufacturing process in the future. Unfortunately, the world hasn't gotten to this point yet, but I feel like at some point it will get to this point, and that is get to the point where we will no longer be able just to walk into a store for at least for certain products like cell phones, smartphones, cars. Cars are happening right now because of all COVID and right now, if you want to buy a new car which is off the lot, you're going to pay a premium for that car. It's going to be more expensive than the actual list price because if you want the car now versus You put your order for your car, which will take 6 months to get a new car, but it won't cost you nearly as much as if you want a brand new car off the lot, because you don't have to pay the additional fees. Because why do they have those cars on lots are basically their demo models. That's the only cars they have on the lot to show people when they come to the car dealership that, hey, this is what the car feels like. Because come on, I think everyone can agree at this moment in time that cars are an experiential product. You have to sit in it. You have to get a feeling. Okay, how does the steering wheel fit? How does the seat fit? And the actual comfort inside the car. How well does that feel? It's not one of those things that you can buy sight unseen. Heck, even Tesla. When they had you do the order online thing, but they still had to have kind of showrooms, quote unquote. And I remember this, seeing one of these suckers at King of Prussia Mall down in King of Prussia, PA, where you actually could go in and actually sit in one of the cars. So you had a feeling for the car, and that kind of thing will not change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I actually want to call up a car dealership and talk to them about this, which is, okay, if I order a car, how much money do I have to put down on that car? And what happens if I change my mind in 6 months? Before the car is finished being produced. What happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? I mean, we may be looking at a potential where we go back to the 1900s, where early 1900s, where you didn't do your own shopping. You went into the store and said, "I'd like this list of things," and somebody goes and gets them for you. And that's because of just a rampant retail theft. You never know. But hey, getting back to the original topic for a minute, I just had a few quick questions. So I'll throw up something on the website to say, yes, we are having a Starfleet Battles tournament. Now, that being said, do you want a separate, small fee to cover cost, or are we good for that?
I think we're good.
Are we going to do on-demand printing? You think we'll be okay? We don't need an extra fee? Because, one of the traditions of gamers is that pretty much the vast majority of games that we've scheduled, there's no fee outside of our entry fee.
Right.
So, for instance, this year, this particular event is the first time that I've raised the price in maybe 7, 8, 9 years. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
And it's and the price for the entire weekend, including Monday, is a thing. It's kind of close to what you might pay for a major convention for one day.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And it's actually less than that if you take into account paying for sub events within the convention. So basically, and I'm just a totally off the topic thing. I may end up canceling the dessert contest part because no outside food or drink. Sorry, but that's beside the point. I'm sure nobody really comes just for the dessert contest. So that all said, we're looking at, I just want to clarify, we're looking at a Swiss format double elimination tournament for the main event, and we might have a patrol tournament for Saturday or Sunday or both as a side event, plus other possible things.
Right.
If you want to send me some details on that, that's fine.
Yes.
But I'll put something up on the site this week then, because we've only got about this Friday will be 4 weeks to go.
Right. And And I feel like
Yeah.
when it comes to getting people out there, it's going to be a word of mouth campaign.
And if anybody listening to this
Right.
wants to, we post in the BBSs and other places, other
Oh
threads
yeah.
out there, other groups.
Oh, agreed.
Feel free to let them know that this is
Oh,
going to be a thing.
oh, will
Um,
it'll be posted on Facebook.
one
Yes.
one other thing is for anybody who is going to definitely come out for it. Pre-registration is preferred because then I can have your badge ready, and it makes the getting everybody their badges process a lot faster
Mm-hmm.
on the day of.
Right.
So if you pre-reg, you can actually there's a section for notes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to, you can put in SFB tournament and the ship that you want to run, and I'll let Paul know what ship you want to run, so we definitely have enough. I mean, I don't think we're going to have 100 copies of each thing. We'll probably have like a handful of each, and then print
Yeah.
out stuff. I'll probably end up dragging my printer out there so we can do some extra printing.
Well, then I'll check to see how my.
And that's basically.
I just have to look at my my tournament bag, because my tournament I might have right now. I'm feeling like I'm gonna probably have to make copies of the EAs. That's definitely, I think, something I'll have to do. I have to check to see what kind of ships I have available. I definitely would, if I had to make up like maybe 10 or 20 copies of the Andromedan, because that one's definitely different. And I think another one I have to print out is the Tholian, the Archaeotholian, because of either that or just tell people delete the shield boxes, which is the change off the original copies. But because
we can also make those adjustments on the spot too.
Right. Oh, agreed. But I'm just saying that I still got a lot of copies of the tournament ships from my tournament bag for running tournaments, which is at this point like 20 years old. But a lot of the ships have not changed in 20 years. Currently the only one of the few, there's at least 3 ships that, as I mentioned, have changed. We got the Archeo, we've got the Andro, and we've got the Fed, because the Fed now has a Type G drone rack. The Gendarian is now certified as being part of the tournament. I'd have to check to see if I have any copies of those, because I probably do, just because of even when they were first testing it out. I had copies, and I don't think they changed it from that original version of the Gendarian. Personally, I think the Gendarian should. I think it would have been more interesting to have the asteroid versions, where it has the big wargs on it, which are hard as it is. They are very hard to get in the Ark anyway. It's not like the asteroid ships, they can't het. So that's just because they're asteroids. So, but anyway, that's another one of my personal opinions, which a little grumble. Oh,
Okay.
by the way, Jeff, yes, it was Oracle who bought Open Office, but also Oracle gave over Open Office over to Apache. So currently, Open Office is run by Apache itself. So that was one of the things that Oracle did with that. Currently, they're still the open source. Well, they're the major vendor of MySQL. That's why you have like Maria. I think it's MySQL. Yeah, MySQL. Yeah. And then you have Maria DB, which is a fork off of MySQL, which is actually separate. Mm. Fire Squadron and PF floated options. That would be interesting. I'm not sure what you could do with that. I've never seen anyone actually try to run a PF tournament. I wouldn't want to do that because the problem with PFs is they got a lot of power, a lot of weapons, not so much internals. Just like fighters, they're not supposed to survive all that much. you know. But anyhow,
That would be really like that would
yeah.
be really a luck-driven thing.
Oh yeah. And many years ago, we actually had a what we call electronic warfare um, SFB tournament, which was actually interesting, in that you actually we enabled EW, and I forget some of the limitations that we had on that tournament. I could actually look at the bulletin board backups archives to see what those were, but I I think that's one of those things that, in theory, and electronic, an EW, SFB tournament, I think it is doable in my mind. Now, personally, I think I can say this for most of the tournament people, they don't want it. The reason why they did it on a, not I was gonna say on a lark, but it's not really on a lark. They did it because of there's some people who played normal SFB. They're going, I'll never play tournament because of you don't use EW. Fine, we'll add an EW, and then you have to play because in my mind EW only really is good for fleet engagements where you don't necessarily need a scout, but a scout's nice to have, but and have it so that you're some of the smaller ships can actually be protected because erratic maneuvering can be a lot cheaper than it would be to actually have it actually allocate EW, for it. And the reason why the smaller ships would do that is to protect it from the good old, everyone fire on that ship kind of thing, and kill it. Sorry, the Zinti over there is on top of my printer. Thank you, Zooks.
Mm.
Yeah, I think people can see it in the video. The hi, Zooks. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I think the double elimination tournament is the best way to go because of that means people can join in and be part of the tournament, and even if they did get knocked out on the quote unquote the first round, they're not done. They they'll play the losers of the first round. Everyone who loses in the first round will then play in the losers bracket, and at that point, if you lose again, then then you're knocked out. But again,
Yeah.
Given that there's a 3-hour limitation on each game, that means you can have a possibility of 6 hours of game time right there. That's half the day. If you get there at 10 o'clock in the morning and you play one game and then you take a lunch break and then you play another game, then because that's probably in that case I want to do is one have it so people have it. I would greatly encourage, as in almost to the point of requirement, people sign up for the tournament before Gamers of Summer starts. Just because of I need to know how many people.
I don't think we need to make it a requirement. I don't think it needs to be a requirement, but it should be a very nice thing. Yeah, because if you're registering just to come in for that, you're probably going to put it down on your notes saying, I'm here for the SFB tournament.
Right. But at the same time,
we'll know.
the same time, to start a stubble elimination tournament, I need
Mhm.
at the very least most people there. I can
Oh
have
yeah.
have two people, later on show up. But the question is, okay, you might have one person who's sitting there for like 3 hours waiting for a game to, for an opponent to come so that he actually can play. I don't want that. I don't want that
Oh,
kind of.
this is over. I think we're overthinking it right now a little bit. Because I think the majority of people that are going to come out for this are going to be there when the doors open.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Pretty simple. I mean, I doubt that somebody who pre-registers for the event is going to show up at 6 o'clock in the afternoon unless they literally are driving in from a far distance and they hit some really bad traffic or something like that.
Right. Right.
I think that's a mountain on a molehill at the moment. And if you really break it down into time, I'll be there until about midnight personally.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any people playing late games, I can adjudicate that for
Right.
you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I know you don't want to be there until that late.
Oh,
Um,
agreed. But at the same time,
but
we're going to play
if
by the
for the
rules, and the
3
rules
hours,
state that you have a 3 hour time limit.
right? I'll be, and the doors will be open for like 14 hours. So even if somebody comes in and their first game is at 3 in the afternoon, they still have time to get a second game in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of, if they need that second game.
Understood. And well,
I don't know. We'll see how it. Or some of this we can just play it by ear. It doesn't have to be all carved in stone. This is how it's going to be flat out, no matter what. Because look, it'll be our first time running this kind of a tournament at this event, and we can be flexible. I think.
mm-hmm.
I don't see a reason to get too concerned with some of that particular level of this is how it has to go necessarily. If we get 8 or 9 players, I'll be ecstatic about it. And I think we'll definitely be able to get in the double elimination aspect of it in on Saturday. And if we are lacking for that, then we will be able to make a rule like, oh, look, odd player out didn't get his second game in. He gets in on a bracket on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Figure something out.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
So that's kind of basically it. I don't want people to get necessarily the impression of we don't have enough people, this isn't going to happen. Because if we get 6, 7 people, we're still going to have a tournament and we're going to have a good time, goddamn it. It's that simple. That's the focus. That's the intent. And, one of the things that's kind of killed me over the years is, yes, we have a core group of people overall that come out for the event. And it breaks down into 2 basic parties. We have tabletop board gaming and we have tabletop role playing. But we've also had a lot of people who come in for, and it's like I had a guy talk in the comments a few weeks ago asking, would there be people interested in my particular RPG that I'm talking about here? And I had to tell the guy, maybe, maybe not, because historically we've had people come out to run D&D games or other role-playing games, and if they didn't have their own people coming out to play, the people who do the regular large D&D group don't break off to go to them.
Right.
And unless you're talking to people in forums to get them out there, there was a very historical low interest in that sort of thing. And then those people come out there one time, they don't get to run their game. They say, what a small convention this is. They don't come back. And that stunts our growth slightly, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And had a similar thing with some vendors. We've had a few vendors over the years, but we're not primarily focused for that. So basically, what I'm saying is we're going to make it happen. And, whether we have 5 people or we have, 16 or 20 show up, if we get a whole bunch of people who go to the, what is it, the group up in like Buffalo, Schenectady, whatever it is. If those guys come down, that's a huge tournament for us for a first time. And we'd still be able to accommodate that. If we have to go to a third day to have a finals on Monday, then you could have somebody else be the Monday judge.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure out some kind of prize for it.
Right.
So maybe I'll make a hat or something. I can scrape together a few bucks and go out to an art store and pick up a hat and fix it all up. Who knows? We'll see. Let's see. That's about all I could think of right at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other thoughts on it?
Nope. That was it.
Am I way off base there?
No, you're not way off base at all. Okay. So, okay. Well, actually, with that, why don't we wrap it up for this evening? It's good to see that actually you didn't drop off. Anyhow. So.
But did I drop? Am I still here?
Yeah, you're
sorry.
But
I just spent all that time talking to the walls.
No, you're talking with me. But anyway, okay. Let me wrap it up here. Doug, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and you have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Bye. So, yeah, it's an interesting podcast. Talk about obviously the gamers of summer, having a tournament there, and some discussion points on that, different ways of handling that. And of course we got into a little bit of talking about tech, and Lord knows, I could go off on that real fast, and I can easily create another podcast which just talks about tech. But I got enough things that I do, and I don't need another podcast. And I don't think the world needs another tech podcast that screams about the issues of the day when it comes to technology, and whether it's software, hardware, cloud, whatever. Anyhow, with that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.